on the topic of technology, you know, you got the gates and you got the course and everything else. That's pretty much Joe Blow can go out and get the stuff and do it and everything else. But you have repeaters here in front of the pilot stations. You have the link to the monitors and everything. You see advances in the future to that stuff that will make running a course and making a race easier.
Absolutely. It needs to go to digital. Right now it's analog.
Okay.
And so it's just like old school with the 72 megahertz when, you know, if you're transmitting on channel 35 and someone else is on 35, you know, not long ago, 8-10 years ago, you're going to shoot them down, right, with RC control. Well, we have the same problem with video now. It's analog. Anyone can transmit, anyone can receive.
Right.
It's not bound like our 2.4 systems are.
Right.
So I think that's the first step. Maybe high def, paired spectrum
can come later, but I think that I agree with
channel hopping, dedicated channels where you're not going to shoot someone down. That needs to happen first.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the technology has plenty of room for advancement. You know, what's interesting is back in the day when we were flying 72 megahertz, you would go to the flying club and you would put your pin on your frequency and say you're flying channel 18. Sometimes if it was informal, you would yell, channel 18 taking off, and people would be respectful. These guys are not so respectful because, you know, they're really...
They're renegades.
You know, everybody's so accustomed to crashing. You know, that's part of FPV. You crash a lot, and 90% of the crashes are just nothing else than, you know, straightening a prop or changing a $2 prop. So it's not as... You're not as intimidated to crash the next guy because, you know they're not going to have to spend hours and thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars to fix their stuff. They spend $5 and 2 minutes and they're good to go again. Yep. So there's less respect, I guess you could say, when it comes to plugging in and not advertising your frequency. And also, it's not a standard, not quite defined standard for frequency control. You know, we're talking megahertz. It's not like back in the day. Sure, it was megahertz, but we were talking about channels.
Exactly.
Now there's channels, but there's different bands, and there's not a standard. In the USA, the FCC only approves some. In Europe, is different. So that needs to improve. Right. Absolutely.
Right. The age demographic for FPVs, what would you say?
Young kids.
Early 20s?
Here was younger. I'd say for us, the average age is mid-20s.
Yeah, I would say.
Average age mid-20s.
Like early 20s.
Yeah, but it seems like a lot of the young kids, I mean, it seems like the number one racer right now is a 15, 16-year-old from England.
But we're also seeing guys, you know, that are middle-aged like me or older, you know, in their 40s, and guys like Bobby in late 20s, early 30s. And there's a big variety, you know, there's a big selection, I guess you could say, of different ages, you know.
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of hand coordination and reflexes for flying helis.
Especially for the...
And it seems like it transfers to this too, because the instantaneous response, because you got no room for error.
No room for error when you go that fast.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right. We find the heli stuff has helped in this, because there's a lot of throttle popping in the corners, and it's a lot like RC helis when you do like hard blade stopping maneuvers, 3D maneuvers. It really transitions pretty good, actually. It really wasn't too hard to get accustomed to it.
Now, from a manufacturer standpoint, I know you start to carry, you know, the accessories and quads and everything along with that. Is it hard to keep up with the technology as it's changing?
Yeah.
You're never going to keep up. By the time you make it, unless you're really innovative with your product, by the time you come up with something, it's outdated. Like, we just released our S-Racer frame, and we developed it for about 4 or 5 months. And to be honest, the standard of equipment that we tested with is different now than the standard of equipment that people are, the latest cameras, the latest video transmitters. So it's hard. It's a very fast moving sport. It's a very fast evolving industry.
It is, but it also, you know, we encourage people, and we're not saying this because of, this is just based on our experience. If anybody out there wants to get into FPV, especially quad racing like we're doing, you know, you need to look at, you know, at least, I would say 2 to 3 month old technology, because 2 to 3 month old technology. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Exactly. But you know, the stuff, it's changing so rapidly, and most of it is open source. So there's too many people contributing to a specific project, and it doesn't really get refined very quickly. And there's a lot of issues, a lot of bugs, a lot of problems. So it's always better just to stick with the stuff that's proven, that's 3 to 6 months old, and then move on. As you know, you're always a little bit behind the latest and greatest, but you have more reliable equipment this way. Otherwise, your equipment is extremely unreliable if you want to be on the cutting edge of this technology. It's literally changing. I mean, God, every other month we see something new, you know.
know.
Yeah, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I've left my setup the same since like April. And I know you tried some stuff that came out like a month or two ago, and like 3 of your quads had issues because the technology is so new. And mine's just from April, which is really old actually, and it seems to be holding up. So that part's a pain. It really is. So for beginners, we just recommend, honestly, find like a plug-and-play bind and fly that's got good reviews and just learn that way. It's the best way to get in. Don't build your own at first. It's not like a heli. It's not like an airplane. Get a bind and fly, get the bug first, see if you like it, and then, because there's some really, one of our winners actually in our B class had a plug-and-play bind and fly machine. So it was really cool to see, just running an absolute stock machine. He was just very consistent the whole weekend, and he won. So it was very cool.
Yeah, I agree, totally.
Now that the race is over and where everything's winding down, do you have the same desire and opinion going in as you do right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we do.
We're excited. We're excited. I mean, it went well.
We didn't get to fly ourselves. We worked very hard.
Not
And
competitively.
yeah. But it's definitely, it's very exciting to see. I mean, these guys were so happy. We saw this kid from Melbourne, Florida, win the first place in the B class, in the intermediate as we call it, and he was so stoked. He got some prizes. He was so happy, and it's just cool to see that. It's no different than helis, no different than airplanes, no different than RC cars. It's the same stuff. We're all C brothers, RC brothers. And it's just cool.
No doubt.
Well, very cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank.
Well, anyway,
Frank.
for Road Noise, I'm Frank,
I'm Bobby.
And I'm Bert.
and we'll catch you next time.